I chose my great-granddad, Alexander Rodgers, because all my family members say he was a really nice and funny guy and he went to World War II. How was he related to me, you say? Here's my mum's dad. Alexander was born to Agnes and James Rodgers on the 4th of November 1917 in Hector, New Zealand. In his family there were 3 children. At 3 years old, his family moved to Granity, New Zealand. Over the first 3 years in Granity, the family grew from 5 to 11, 7 boys and 2 girls. Alexander and his brothers and sisters had a religious upbringing. They went to school at St. Joseph's School in Granity. At school, he had a love for playing sports like athletics, rugby, cricket and hockey. Alexander also represented Buller Rugby in 1936. He had lots of hobbies. One was he played in a brass band. Alex grew older and got a job at a grocer for 18 months. He started work at 2:30 in the morning to knead dough and get dough ready for baking. He worked there for 18 months, getting up every morning at 2 a.m. for only 10 shillings a week. As his family was growing older, they said Granity was no place to bring up a family, so in 1937 they moved to Wellington. In Wellington, Alex joined the Tramsway Brass Band, an interest he really enjoys. This is Alexander's brass band he was in Wellington. In 1939 he signed up for the army. A year later, in 1940, he was called up and went to camp in Papakura for 3 months of intensive training. After 3 months of intensive training, he came home to Wellington where Mabel Rodgers and Alex got married on the 14th of March 1940. After he got married, he went back to camp, then eventually he went to war. He left camp for overseas on the 7th of May 1940. Alex was a driver and an engineer in the army. During the war, Alexander went to South Africa, Egypt, Greece, and Crete. During that time, Alex got badly wounded and taken to hospital in Athens, where the Germans overran the dressing station. They came in and shot 2 to 3 orderlies who were looking after them. Alex got badly smacked up in the back and was semi-paralysed for a while, and about a week later was taken to a hospital just out of Athens and was taken prisoner of war on Crete. They stayed in Athens for quite a few months and was sent to a concentration camp, where he got really sick. Alex escaped from the camp with a couple of friends by hiding in dirty laundry bags. When the van came to collect the laundry, they were out. They were loose in the hills about 12 to 15 miles from Athens for about 3 months. The Greek people were great. They looked after them and hid them and also gave them food. After 3 months, they were caught by the Germans and beat up badly, splitting open his back and put them into jail. He was in jail for 2 days and then he went to hospital. Next, he was shipped to a prisoner of war camp at Thessaloniki, north of Greece, for 3 weeks. Then he went to another prisoner of war camp in Germany. 5 to 6 months later, he went to camp in Bavarian Alps. Him and his friends tried to escape, but the Germans found out and caught them. They were taken to the headquarters and asked questions for several hours. Eventually, 3 of the Huns gave them the beating of their lives. Ending up in jail for a couple of days later, his back was split open and he was in great pain. The German officer came in and asked what was the trouble. What were they doing? They charged them for being spies. He noticed that Alex was in a bad way. He looked at his back and saw it was split open and wanted to know who did it. He also wanted to know if Alex had eaten anything. Anyhow, he fixed him up and gave him a meal and sent him to a hospital. A few weeks later, he had to board an old merchant ship called the Arcadia. The Arcadia was a British boat the Germans had captured. There were about 500 of them packed into a hold of a cargo ship for 4 days, and they were only allowed on the deck one at a time. If you needed to go to toilets, there were a couple of planks over the bow of the ship, and you sat there in the rough seas. One almost drowned while doing his business. When they finally got off the ship, it was near the end of the war. Towards the end of the war, his mate Owen and him decided they may as well be shot trying to escape than be shot in the Black Forest. They cut a few holes in the fence and made a run for it. The escape was successful, and they eventually met up with the American tank troops, who took them under their wing and could not do enough for them. They finally arrived back in Britain after 10 days before the war was finished. Alex arrived back in New Zealand on the 10th of August 1945. After the war was finished, he had 3 babies, named Glennis, Sandra, and Janet. They moved to Motueka in 1952, where Alex started working as a builder, and then spent most of his life working in a tobacco industry as a field officer and tobacco buyer. Alex later on passed away while at his nephew's rugby game while telling his friend a joke. Bye, Tayla.